This is Sanjay Sharma, and you are tuned to our very special conversation program called Sir, Let Me Tell You, where we invite students who are about to graduate or have already graduated to impart and reflect on what they have learned and how they plan to apply in their lives, both personal as well as professional. This initiative stems from a startling realization. During a recent discussion with the students, I was pleasantly surprised to notice that they accumulated way more knowledge than I remember sharing during the class discussions. It was a real treat listening to them with their level of sophistication in articulating ideas, concepts, and theories. I felt so privileged witnessing this transformation as a teacher, mentor, or coach. I could not help but recall the Hindi verse, हर सुमन का सुरभि से है अनलिखा अनुबंध पवन को सौंपे बिना यदि मैं झरूं सौगंध. Meaning, there is this unwritten contract between a flower and fragrance that the flower would not perish until it facilitates a smooth assimilation of fragrance with the wind so that it could achieve its purpose of existence or what it was meant to. For a teacher, nothing could be more delightful and rewarding than seeing motivated and diligent students come up with flying colors and excel in their fields of studies, fields of interest. All they need is a mentor who could assist them in figuring out a sense of direction and purpose of learning for their flourishing. This initiative is an effort to offer a platform where they can showcase their caliber and competence with confidence. Having taught in different parts of the world in different departments, I would be inviting students from political philosophy to international relations, Korean studies to Asian business management, legal studies to languages, and so on. If this is what resonates with you and you feel motivated to join as guest student, let me hear from you. I hope you would love the show. So let's get started. In our very special session today, my guest is Artis Armalis, one of my favorite students who attended my classes in economics and business in Asia in the Netherlands. He used to be a front runner in the class, and what fascinated me about him the most was his exemplary communication skills and ability to articulate complex concepts into small, easy to learn bites which benefited everybody in the class. I'm glad he could spare some time amidst his busy schedule of Regatta. Yes, he is into sailing and currently is on shore just for this talk before moving back to the sea. So, welcome, Artis, to the show.
Thank you so much, Sanjay.
After the graduation, if you can just briefly give us a sense, like what have you been doing?
So since graduation, what came my path was the course of coaching. First for my own exploration. One thing to another led to joining courses with other fellows who were interested in outdoor personal development. So for about 2 years, we're running outdoor education programs for personal development. And after that, I thought, okay, I wanna dwell in deeper in the knowledge of therapy or like self exploration. So I did a 2 year course in coaching. And then meanwhile, I was working in hospitality in a hotel business in customer relations. And time passed by, and at one point I was asking myself, well, what's next? Because Corona came, and then of course the whole industry went it went where it went. And that was the moment when I asked myself, well, what do I want to do was my life, and or where do I go further? And in a very short time, I set up a plan. I had this small internal meeting with myself, asking questions, what do I want to do? And a few things came up, and one of those was sailing. Uh, I, I looked up my diaries and I went through, and then there was a passage about sailing, and so it was one of my dreams. And I realized it's not something just out of bloom. And within about 8 months, I wrapped up things in Netherlands after living there for about 12 years. And my path led me back to that Latvia. I joined like Sail Training Association of Latvia, which provided me opportunity to learn sailing, and that's what I've been doing for the past 3 months, and I'm planning to continue doing till the end of season, somewhere around. That's when the next adventures start. But
Okay.
for now, yeah, for now, mainly sailing is filling my days.
Yeah. Well, I think like from learning to coaching and then sailing, it sounds kind of like a huge journey and the changes. So obviously you have apart from the academic tasks that we used to do at the time, you have learned so many things that are practical and can be used. So assuming that you have read and learned and did so many things, what is that one thing that you are passionate about it and you would like to share today with our viewers?
Today, I would like to share about communication. I think it's an element that it's part of everything. We are daily making decisions and communicating them with others and also with ourselves. So I see it as a crucial element for introspection and uh, element that can make your life hell or heaven,
True. Yeah.
so to speak. Because yeah, as simple as that, negotiating about what you're gonna eat today, to office meetings or endless discussions with your family, and I think that was the element what I came across over time, that yeah, how to make it more more flowing, more constructive.
That's right. So, yeah, of course, communication is actually, we are living already the age of automation, then things are being done by machines. Many things are automated. But one thing, despite having all the advanced gadgets, one thing which is still very much, individual centric, that is a communication, one to one on one. And especially for, I mean, with the experience that you have lived all over different places, and Netherlands being one of the most cosmopolitan countries around the world, what kind of, I mean, what is this communication model? Could you just give us a sense about the whole domain?
Yes, it's actually one of the models we also had in our curriculum. And it's in essence very simple model. Well, it encompasses, you have the sender and you have the receiver. The sender envisions some information which he wants to share with another. So he encodes the message and then he transmits it through various channels. Could it be spoken word, a written one, also nonverbal? And then you have the receiver who has to decode the message, interpret it, and provide feedback. And in between all of that, so to speak, there's the noise, which could be very tangible elements as sounds in between. Uh, Nowadays, in digital communication, because of COVID, like interruptions of internet, children running into the session,
Yeah.
uh, or there could be the internal elements, how we perceive what is sent, like our in psychology they use cameras, or like the fixed filters through which we see the light or see the information. And one very innocent information or the message what is sent, can be interpreted as an insult, just because of the schema, or also because of the cultural aspect. For example, when internationally two people meet. I mean, we also when we look in aspects of companies, like companies make a branding and they let's say, for example, German car company makes a branding commercial for one of their models, and they use it in South America, and suddenly that car model means not a nice thing, and it becomes a laughing stock, uh, just because of the different cultural aspects, where the sender had no intention of that. So then again, the communication and awareness, this would be probably one of the biggest parts, is like, and it's another easy thing, is the awareness of the world around, and how we convey the message, how the receiver potentially could receive. Yeah, so I think it's a lifelong process and especially in this more global world, that awareness of how we communicate, to whom we send the message, and how the people might interpret it. And
So,
there comes the really important, maybe on the larger scale, it's harder, the feedback loop, but when in one-on-one relations, the aspect of feedback is very vital, to see actually how is the message received. I think, or what I have observed is like we often speak without uh, waiting for the answer, or we talk because of talking, and often actively actually listening. So we are like in a competition of saying something, and during the course of coaching training, I realized that we often also in our the academic trainings, we often talk about feedback, providing feedback, but providing a sound feedback is a great art. Uh, Often people think they're providing feedback, but they're often providing opinion. In that setting, very useful tools, for example, could be like Myers-Briggs, Enneagram. I will repeat them later on at the end of the session also. Starting by exploring how are you communicating, because you could be more introvert or more extrovert. You could use more hands, or someone or be a very silent person, and how these two things, when it comes together of sender and receiver, how it comes across. Because you have to understand to whom are you talking. But the first place, also like inquire how are you talking. And I think that is the one of the crucial elements, exploring your own personality and the traits, because there's also the I think quite often used the four color model, and those models there um, for reason. Like you shouldn't take them like as I would say, because then you start to kind of fix yourself or some others in a boxes. He's blue, yeah, he's yellow, and then nature doesn't love stagnation, because whatever stagnates and it doesn't flow, it goes bad. So I think many things in life in general, we have to connect to the flow of life. Like Bruce Lee said, "Be like water, my friend." Uh, and these elements is crucial. So starting with exploring how you communicate, uh, and uh, and then moreover observe how are other people. Like for example, when you would work at think in a classroom and you have like a group project, you could say that, oh, I don't like this student, or that I doesn't want to work with him. But you could also ask question, okay, so what are those things that I don't like? Can I is there a way to bridge it? Because also looking back when I was a student, it's very easy to say, well, I don't like that, I don't like that. But then over time you start to inquire, okay, what does it tell about myself? Well, are there any patterns reoccurring? Also, what kind of channels do you use? Continuing to sticking to the model, like what kind of channels? I mean, there's the verbal way, there's the written way, um, also the non-verbal when you walk in a room. And the other aspect is that sometimes we not to say that we don't see or hear what is there, but we rather see what we want to hear. A lot of possibilities, things go wrong. Uh, when I think about, for example, I recently Regatta, and me there was another freshman, and we're doing the first day of the race, and so far what I've observed, it's very noisy on the ship. So the captain shout. So if you might perceive that the captain is angry towards you, and not like freshman, you do things wrong, and you hear shouting. So one of the other person sort of withdraw from the tasks and set aside, and you could observe that she wasn't in a good place. So once the racing day was over, I sat next to her and we had a little talk. And also captain noticed, okay, some things are not going well because I had a feeling that she might not come back the next day. And I had a conversation, and I think that's the part of like of the feedback loop, because sometimes we can have yeah, crisis situation or like miscommunication, and everybody walks their own way, and actually it could have been solved. There are situations, I think, like I would say there's two ways when everybody understands each other perfectly clear and there's very opposing opinions, or there's that actually each has not understood very clearly but assume that there's the topic is clear and walks away, and that's a shame because that can be resolved by uh, yeah, daring to sit down with each other. For some it would make making the first step, and uh, and actually hear each other out. And more often than that, I've seen that when you actually dare to do the extra work, say, it brings.
Here, I would just like to interrupt you. For some of our listeners might not know exactly what regatta is. So could you give us some basic idea like what it is? How do you organize it?
Yes, of course. Well, regatta is like a huge well, it's a race. It's the organization committee, and like it's a project where people come together. It could be also like car races, something like that. But it's for enthusiasts of sailing. Um, and there's different ways how the teams are assigned or like completed. There's a professional teams, and they select who will join based on their skills. In our case, because we are sail training association, there's like the people who join the association um, have a chance come together, and then the captain decides. Well, we have 8 spots, so I need to assemble a team, and uh, and that's also quite a process because you are some people you know because they're recurring from previous seasons, but with freshmen you don't know, so you have to sort of hope your first judgment after a few trainings, you know, that well, actually these people could fit together and not gonna kill each other by end of the week. So that's also really it's interesting process, like because sea as a natural force, you have to surrender to it because we had you design the strategy, so sort of, and then you come part of the skills, but then comes in the element of wind, because we had the moments when well, we had a great starting position. We made the captain took the lead and saying, okay, we're going to go through this strategy, and uh, and we are going fast and everything is amazing. And then at one moment we get in a pocket and there's no wind, and then you look around and you see the yachts up front are just becoming a smaller dot on the horizon. You realize, yeah, you have to surrender. And how do you deal with those internal frustrations? I mean, this also comes from the expectations when captain recognizes, well, what are the the gears in his hand as a crew, and also recognizing what are the equipment. But at one point, when there's no wind, and then you just enjoy the force of nature, well, through frustration. And it's yeah, it's a majestic process, like similar to the works what I've done in mountains in Italy and Alps. It's a very clear force of reflection of your own inner world, because after a while, I mean, in the first days you kind of like, we also like the model of forming, storming, norming, and performing. You go through the different stages as a team. At first you have the excitement, you're trying to figure out how each individual is and how when it, this sum comes together and at a larger perspective. And you never know, especially with the people who just met. And I mean, I'm extremely happy and thankful because our I think in a day of the fifth day, we were again catch the no wind zone, and then we just agreed, well, we're gonna enjoy it. So at the slow pace, we cruised to the back to the harbor, uh, discussing, putting on a good music, sharing great food,
Hmm.
laugh, and just enjoying the sunset, and then coming in, figuring out that our engine is not working, because for the process when you go through with sales, and then like when you reach the finish line, you can turn on the engine. For that, you just have to, because it's a race. If it wouldn't be a race, you can turn on the engine every time. And then we realized, oh, our engine is not working. So, okay, so how are we gonna deal now? So again, you have to come into the in a communication moment of, okay, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this. We need help, so then we need to use radio to call another boat who will tug us. And I think among the most stressful moments actually is the docking or a mooring process when you come into. It's already can be pretty stressful when having an engine. So now we have to be done without an engine. So have to be a very clear line of command. And even then, sometimes there can be the noise which interrupts, and and then comes the screaming part of captain, like, what are you doing, like, or he jumping across the yacht, like trying to fix it to make sure that we're not crashing. uh, and you have the yes.
Now that you're talking about this one, I just had to think about if you compare this kind of like communication management in two different settings. One is that when you did group work in the university during the classes, and group work here at
Yeah.
selling. Are there any fundamental differences or commonalities that you can compare these two? Which, if one of them is more difficult, complex, crucial, how do you see them?
I think the most fundamental difference is probably the element of the natural force, which makes it more unpredictable in that sense, and
Hmm.
makes it more complex, because when you're sitting in a classroom, well, one can step, if somebody is really irritated or there's a disagreement, one can just stand up and leave. On a boat, well, be my guest. There's nowhere to go, so
There's
you
no
know you
return.
have to deal with each other.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard about situations when, yeah, like it goes on that people stop talking with each other for the time being till they reach shores. Uh, in my short experience, we didn't reach this level. We always could find like and talk it through whenever it was someone felt upset. Um, but it's much more complex, because also like the moving force of wind currents, and like when you are open in the sea, well, there's not much that can happen in that sense of colluding. But when you're especially docking, then uh, yeah, suddenly a huge force of 10 or more tons is moving, and there around are other forces of 10 or more tons that you can collide with, or you can collide with the shore. So there's like you have to act very quickly. So I think in that setting it could be also linked to the business world, when you have to make a fast-paced decisions, like it would be financial markets, or other, where you every second counts. Um, what I observed, what was like now in the last trip I did, we before we had to do any maneuvers, for example, in either leaving the dock, or coming at shore. A previous night, I had a briefing with the captain, so we can walk through the steps, and that helps to ensure that actions, when we come to it, will actually come through. So I think, like, again, communication process and understanding, because if you have the sender sending message, in this case the captain sending what someone has to do or be at a place, and then in between there's a wind, other noises, lack of skill, and it's done in the last moment, there's a greater probability that things gonna go wrong. So also kind of when you assess, when you encode your message and how you're going to transmit it, assessing, okay, is it good that we do it advance in this situation, that we can go through the plan, and increasing the chances that everything goes smoothly. And that was one of the things I really appreciated, and I continue to initiate, whenever I had to do something that seemed complex. And sometimes what seemed complex in action turned out to be very simple. One elevator in a harbor, and there was no space for the spot for docking, so we had to dock side by side. Was another vessel, and it turns out we arrived at 9 p.m. and it turns out the other vessel wanted to leave by 4 a.m. So in our case, and on top of that, there arrived another smaller vessel who also docked nearby because they had a technical issue, so they couldn't move. Um, in essence, what it means that in a few hours we all had to get up, uh, make a maneuver that the other vessel can leave, and then turn our vessel around, which seemed like, okay, we're gonna be busy at least for half an hour. Uh, we talked it through. For most part, everybody knew what has to be done, and we were done in about less than 10 minutes. So then we could celebrate the sunrise with a brandy, glass of brandy, and just share some stories about how they crossed the Caledonian Channel of Scotland. It's the life of sailing, marvelous.
So actually, it's quite interesting your story. I'm just curious, really, while listening to you. Say, in your case, you seem to be a natural communicator in that sense. You don't seem to have a problem, meeting people and having or striking a conversation on anything, under the sun. How about, or what about the people who are not naturally that gifted as far as communication is concerned? Because I mean, we talk about all these introvert people who have a lot to share, but somehow, due to the language barriers or just by sheer not or being reticent about it, how do you see, like, how can you develop these skills, and what are the major bottlenecks that you observe in your communication or in your surrounding that you would like to pinpoint for the people?
Yes, in the trainings where I've been as a participant, as a trainer, uh, it always marvels me the introverts, who dare to make the step and recognize, well, maybe I'm not the best. Uh, Maybe I often encounter challenges, how to get my message across to the other non-introverts and be heard in the world. But then taking those steps, looking for the opportunities, and joining like communication classes, because like I think there's a way of like what I learned, like for example, like art of how you structure your questions. What type of questions do you ask? I think introverts are probably among the most natural talented listeners, and they already have like a large part of the training at their pocket, uh, which they maybe don't recognize. But then during the training, they think, oh, well, I actually am pretty good at this. Oh, so I can just work on the other element of how to express it, and it's the yeah, daring to step out of your comfort zone. And I've seen marvelous examples where people just dare and go. I think, as Nike say, just do it. And sometimes it's easier said than done. But yeah, if you don't go, if you don't dare to step out, nothing can change.
That's true.
I think that is the part. That is the part, and I think that you can find now with us, I think, with the open universities, with YouTube videos, or I mean, I think even best is when you can join, like, look after some local organizations that does such courses, and to put yourself out there and explore how you interact. And it's not only the verbal communication; it's also the non-verbal, because that's actually our bodies are extremely intuitive machines. We, how it's said is, about only 10% what we say is from the entire message what we convey, and 50% comes through our non-verbal aspects. Um, so I think it's the best. You can read books, of course, but I think the best is actually setting yourself out to practice, to ask for feedback. For example, what I've done is like to ask your friends. So, guys, how do you perceive me on these and this and this and different aspects? Uh, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? So starting the dialogue, it's again like when the two sides probably not understand each other and then walk away, but instead of that, just oh, dare to explore, inquire about yourself, and yeah, that I think that's the biggest gift you can do because
Yeah.
it opens up uh, a while. It broadens your perspective on the world.
I was just thinking that now we are living in a age of social media. Earlier, when we talked about communication, probably we would just be limited to presentations or having group discussions or having one-to-one conversation, in-depth discussion. But now you have like short text, chat messages, whether it's WhatsApp, Facebook, so Twitter, especially even a smaller one. Do you think that these mediums or these platforms have in a way enhanced our communication skills or ability, or they have actually had adverse impact on the real conversation that probably people could do earlier?
It's again there's like it has its pros and cons.
Hmm.
I mean, with WhatsApp, it has made us available in essence, to be accessible 24/7 in one way. You also start, at least for myself, to learn to set certain boundaries because in the past you would receive a message and you would take your time and respond at the manner when you probably have the soundest environment. You would take the time. Right now, the message comes and you and it also shows that it's read, or seen. So the other person is kind of expecting, well, where's the answer? Uh, so in one way, it has dramatically increased the speed if we think about how messages were delivered by horse carts or pigeons, you name it, to the point of instancy. But it's also what kind of like mental stress it can put, and how do you deal with it? For the other mediums like Twitter, uh, again, it has created the opportunity for people to use it very soundly and also to yeah, how to put it, for example, ex-president Donald Trump, like the way he used Twitter as a, I think everyone can just put the name whatever they feel like how to call it, but like a verbal diarrhea, something like that. So it can impart. It's like a sword, and depending from which side you grab it, it cuts you or you can hold it, and then you can get sliced bread, or you can kill someone. It's just, I think the element is it's just there, and it's there for staying. So we better learn how to deal with it and how to respond, uh, yeah, soundly to it, and yeah, it's like everything, like a creation of wheel. You can travel very fast, or you can create a cart that will bring you to the work. So every technology has its.
If you look at your journey from your high school onwards, and do you think that you would like to attribute it to the chances that you got to study at a place where you had a multitude of cultural nuances, languages that you were exposed to, or the type of subject that you studied in which you invariably came in touch with the people who had different ideas or who belong to different cultures? Do you see that there is some connection between these things and your ability to build on it, or it just like it can be even acquired, achieved by being yourself wherever you are in a small, location?
In a way, I will again refer to the part of the personality things aspect. I think each of us have our strength and challenge that we can overcome. Um, I think in a way I've been blessed by DNA genes. Well, we can that would be another discussion night.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've been blessed with the ability to connect, but I don't think it's limited to the chosen ones in that sense. I mean, exposing yourself, like traveling and studying abroad, being exposed to the different cultures, it really helps to step into other shoes. I mean, if you want, of course, you can be very blunt and ignorant in that sense, you know. And but I would say in life, if you are exposed to opportunities, you should take it in a way that like dare to be curious in that sense, you know, like oh, how do you see it? And again, that comes back to the communication. Um, like my second plan, or like the second leg of my journey, which I did envision, was going to India. But based on current situation, I have to postpone that plan. But the place where I moved, I have neighbors, plenty of Indian students who are studying technology in Riga Technical University, and I've been eating the best homemade curries at 3 a.m. because it's just a different rhythm and observing and being just welcomed and again in the community. And I just had to laugh, you know, like I wanted to go there, but the universe in a way provides. So this is these situations where I sometimes think, where are the cameras? Where's the Netflix show going on? But yeah, it's a blessing when you are open to the world. Yeah, it responds in a way. You know, I think it also comes back looking inwards, what is going on in your world, because in your internal vista, because that will also reflect in the outer vista. If you see that everything is bad, then it's really hard, you know, for the other people to connect you on a different level, because they will have to connect to the prism of which you are expecting. Um, yeah, it's daring to see the beauty around you, even when
Um,
sometimes things doesn't go your way.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because you said that communication, I mean, language plays a certain part of it. More is about your, maneuvers, your body language, and how you carry for yourself. But language certainly, matters a lot. So, how
Yeah.
many languages have you learned, or you communicate on a regular basis? And do you think
Uh,
it has widened your vistas?
oh, definitely, yeah. So I have the Latvian, English, Dutch, and rusty Russian, as I say. Um, yeah, I think it's in each different language you have even your voice, not the voice changes, but like the patterns, how you structure the language, how it's structured. You know, it's also structures the thoughts and the way you speak. I've come across realizing now traveling a lot. Like I meet in the last regatta, I met quite a bit of Estonian and Finnish guys, and I realized how my English changed to much more slower way of talking, and I'm glad that they're not looking at me that I'm ridiculing, but it's just how it metamorphoses uh, yeah, with the other, and I caught myself also, yeah, that like, well, I'm not doing it in a particular purpose, but it's kind of it flows, and yeah, it's really funny. I think like Latvia yeah, well, the main language, the national language is Latvian, but in Riga, where I'm staying now, there's quite a bit of Russian speakers. So
Okay.
so I have to come as my generation is less and less keen to speak Russian, but itself, I think every language can bring you, yeah, depth into the culture also.
So, well, based on your experience so far, what groups are your favorite groups that you interact very well? Is it a subject or thematic based ones, or it's a linguistic, proximity that you are, comfortable with, or it's just with your own nationality or culture? What kind of, sets are closer or easier for you?
Yeah, I thought about it like, and especially coming after the 12 years in Netherlands, I realized how much cosmopolitan I've become.
Mm.
Uh, it's ironic because like I mean it's in the last months was now living in Latvia is getting a bit better, but I had like this Latvian English, so I would start a sentence in Latvian and then like put in like words in English, and then you have the looks. I mean, from the friends they kind of understand, but because people don't have the reference again. So
Mm.
what's wrong with this guy? Like, is he trying to show off or not? And I was like, no, I'm just struggling to be coherent in one language. Um, uh, no, I would say it's like for me, it's as long as I have an interesting conversation, So it's the matter that I connect um, than any other elements, like that really you connect on a heart level. If you have a good time, then that's what matters in that sense. If there's an interesting topic, you can share thoughts and philosophical or matter like in this case it's sailing. That's what really matters. It's as long there's the added value. So it's irrespective of nationality and yeah, gender or it's the essence that what matters.
um, if you look at again the way you have experienced life, there are many things that have taught you, that have given you experience. But what is that one experience which you are very much thankful that that opportunity really opened a new world for you as far as this communication is concerned, or getting to know the world is concerned? Is it a kind of specific project that you did, or you kind of a study, or anything that that really brought so much richness in your life as a cosmopolitan citizen?
I think it's the group of the moment when I stepped on the personal inquiry, personal development path. And there was an organization in Netherlands very well focused on spreading the knowledge and different type of projects. But it's like exactly the coaching element, which I think it brought a lot of introspection. Reflecting on my relationship with my parents, the way I communicate. I think especially when you're fresh while into the training, like every conversation is like analysis. Okay, did I understood it this way or that way, or did you mean this way? It becomes like almost like a professional professional that you look through that very 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 sharp aspect of like analyzing what is going on. But I think that's been one of the richest processes of like really uh, looking inwards. Who am I? What is the world around me? How I interact? From where certain elements and behaviors come, and I think it's life-changing experience. So I can wish to everyone, to do a little bit of introspection work, like and find a setting to look inwards, and that's. I think we will live in much more compassionate world.
We are now already into like 2 years of this COVID or post-COVID phase, whatever you call it. That has brought a big difference, that people are not meeting in person, or at least like the chances have been kind of limited now. So that means there is a more interaction, communication going on machines, gadgets, phones, and so on. Those who are listening to us, all the students who are in the the initial phase of the formative years, what kind of things would you like to really pinpoint for them that they should focus on? Now we have this limitation.
Ooh, That's a great task you set up to me. I think explore through. I mean, especially now you have like certain time. The time is time to explore and go inwards. So explore literature. Uh, Try to read different aspects, different writers, different fields. To especially in your formative years, to yeah, to enrich and broaden your vista, because each of us walk different paths, but once you're done with uni, you probably have to start look for work, and then you go on with starting family. So use this time when you have this abundance in time. Like it might have less human direct interaction, but use this time to learn new skills. Go for walks alone. Like okay, in some places things are opening up, but like in some places it's still closed. So if you have a chance, be in nature. Do things that you always say that if I had the time, I would do it. Uh, this is the time.
This is the time to do. Huh? So, as last question, if I say, I mean, after listening to you, people, I'm quite sure they must be more, now enthusiastic about like that. This area is really to be explored. What are the sources that you would like to recommend or suggest that they should get? More information on this topic or the subject. What, if any, specific books that you would like to suggest them, or any programs or courses?
I mean, like there's like I mean the four color personality typology. You can look into that. You can do the test. The Myron Briggs, which is the 16 personality, which is based on the work of uh, Sigmund Freud and or Mr. Jung. And let me. Okay, there's an interesting writer is Carl Rogers, also for like personal exploration, and he was one of the forefathers of humanistic branch of psychology. It can be very useful. Um, yeah, you can look up type of how to form questions. What, like, let's say for example, why question is always very defining. Like it's almost accusing. So you can look up like how to structure my communication skills. Let me think. Let me think in this field. Uh, I mean, there's more like if you like to enjoy and dwell into the inner lands. Joseph Campbell is a very great modern day mythologist, and I think exploring those also can help in these times of like great uncertainty. To look inwards and reflect back of what the generations before us has done in times of uncertainty.
Well, artists, I must say it's been pleasure, getting your time here with us, and having a lot of new details and understanding and experience for all the people, all the students that are listening to us. And well, depending on the chance and time availability, we'll find some more venues where we can tap into your experience, so that others can benefit a lot. This program is basically made for and meant for students, so that they can learn from their fellow peers, especially when they are entering the university, and they have high hopes what to do. This COVID-19 has, especially for this particular batch, those who are currently student or are going to graduate, it brings a little bit kind of like a constrained environment of learning. They can't be in the campus, they can't be in the classroom, because that experience itself is so much enriching, that you can't really compensate just by reading books at home, or doing classes online. So I think it's really been very, I mean, quite useful what you have just mentioned about it, and the distinction between having communication conflicts in the classroom and when you go in the real world, like regatta, sailing, and you can't dare say I don't like it. You have to be there, and you have to sort out the situation. So that's quite useful stuff. I've learned a lot. So, is there any last message or something that you would like to tell before we conclude the session?
Yeah, I think the last words probably I would like, first of all, I would like to thank you, Sanjay, for inviting me. Yeah, I think you were always very inspiring or inspiring professor to look up to. I think that's also what drove me partially to the business in Asia. Like it was one of my dreams to visit in Asia, and then I also studied in Taiwan from exchange. Um, yeah, you're like the like an infinite spring of inspirations and different knowledges for like a very thirsty student. This was like a spring rain. So I want to say thank you, and then you always inspire me about the different projects you come up for. Yeah, for the social, for the inclusion and inspiration for your students, and how to and yeah, how to support us as a society at large and inspire and give the tools, in a very academic, which is your strength in a way. It's thank you so much. And I think as a wish for the students is like, well, dare to step out, dare to be creative in ways what you can do, because like when one door is closed, you can find another way. um, and whenever you talk with your mom or with your boss or whoever, try to step in their shoes and just have some empathy, because he might have a bad day or he just don't know how to communicate. So maybe you can teach him and find a way how to foster much more constructive dialogue, because that will change not only their day, but not only your day, but also their day. So let's be inspiration for each other.
Wonderful. I think that's a great note to conclude our session. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Artis. I hope you have enjoyed this session. If you have any questions, any queries, any remarks, feel free to let us know. And we will be back with another episode with wonderful talk. Thanks, Artis, and have a good time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.